This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so we've pressed the recording button, so anything we say will be recorded. So good evening,
Yes.
everybody. I'm happy to join you for another session of today's strategic management lesson. Hope you're okay. Um, I am Zafar Iqbal. I took you yesterday, and today's session will be now we're going to start today's session. Okay, so thanks very much. And Mr. Lagari, what we're talking about is we're talking about the assignment. You can pick up
Yes.
an assignment. You can pick up an organization, and you discuss that particular organization and look at the assessment criteria provided you satisfy those learning assessment criteria. That'd be fine. Yeah. So there is no restriction on what type of assessment materials you get, provided you answer these assessment criteria. That'd be fine. Okay.
Yeah.
So I've only any other question that you have. I think one of my other colleagues will go in detail on the session, how to write
Yeah.
an assignment, what's your expected. So yeah, so this is the
Yeah.
assignment, a copy or the assignment, a copy of the assignment, and all on this side
Okay.
is a table of contents, and you look at the. But most probably you should when you're writing your assignment, must be important that you number these assessment criteria, please, okay? Because
Okay.
1.2, 1.3, 1.1, all the time you must remember to answer the assessment criteria and write the assessment criteria on the left-hand side. This assignment
Okay.
doesn't have the number of assessment criteria, right? So it's the first one is probably 1.1, yeah? And
Yeah.
then following by 1.2, 1.3, and so on. So, and then the page number, and then the references at the back. Okay, so when you,
Okay.
yeah, this is the
Yeah.
an example of an organization. For example, it's looks at Tesco's. You know, the Tesco is one of the supermarkets in England,
Yeah.
and you're looking at Tesco. If you are working for your own organization, maybe you can pick up an organization from yourself, or maybe if the
Okay.
case study is written about Exxon or Shell or BP or Nokia or Samsung, you can pick up
Okay.
any case study, and you can make sure that you read the case study maybe and then answer those questions. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So it says they critically evaluate the position of the organization. So if you know position of the organization, what have we studied, you answer those questions. How far is the threat to new entrants? What's the bargaining position? Maybe the 5C model, the the sub, the 5C model we talked about. Yeah, customers, suppliers, threat of new entry, substitutes, rivalry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then you look at the second assessment criteria, analyze the effect of existing plans. So you look at the current plans of the company and where they're going now. So you can evaluate that, analyze. So looking at the corporate strategy of Tesco, you can pick up them how far the competitive, what's the strength, how are they going to rely on building the trust of our customers and so on, and what they're going to do.
Okay.
Then I think 1.3 critically discuss the relationship between corporate business strategy. You explain what the corporate business strategy, middle strategy, and operational strategy is, and what's the company doing about the, how are they gaining competitiveness, what are they doing their product development, what are they investing, what's the strength, maybe they're strong in financial positions and so on. Okay, so this is yeah, so this is available on. I'm sure this is available on Moodle. If not, then we can
Okay.
make available this. Okay, then you come on to the,
Yeah.
applying these models, strategic options like we ENSOF strategy we talked about. So what is our the yesterday we looked at the ENSOF strategy on product development. We looked at the four quadrants. We looked at
Yeah.
the product development, and we looked at what's it called? Where is it? Can you see? I'm moving. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We looked at this type of model. One of the models. This is you can use this Boston's matrix. Okay. You
Yeah.
can use this Boston's matrix or ANSOF's strategy, which we looked at, which is I think product development. Let me see if I can find it from here. Uh, business concept. If it's there, if it's not there, you look up at your notes. Product development. Yeah, product development. I think this is a reading material you can read on the Moodle. Download it, print
Yeah.
it. See if the product development. No, there isn't. It's not in here. Okay, it's not in here, but it's in the
Okay.
presentation, and you can read
Okay.
on the. Let's see if it's here. 2.3. This is what I'm talking about. I think this is the one I'm talking about. This one here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you see this?
Yeah. Yeah. I can.
ANSOF's model, product development. One is market penetration. One is market diversification. These two opposites.
Yeah.
Okay. And then product development and product development into the new and existing markets. These are the four quadrants we talked about yesterday. So you can use that ANSOF strategy. Okay. So and so on. Okay. So you develop your what do you call it, assignment according to the assessment criteria. Okay.
Okay.
Any other question
Yeah.
regarding your assignment? But I'm sure Mr. Zaman will go through the assignment. So going back to today's lesson, we're going to talk about learning or learning outcome number 3, which is this one. It's about being able to evaluate various tools and approaches to a strategic implementation plan, i.e., we need to evaluate and we look at the implementation plan. Okay, so the indicative content or the content we need to be able to talk about is, for example, this one, vision, mission, and strategic goal. What do you mean by excuse me, what do you mean by vision, mission? What's a strategic goal? What are the objectives? The second thing, we need to look at the structure of shareholders. Who are the stakeholders? What are what do they want from the organization? And the third content is to do some kind of a strategic plan, looking at the implementation of these through different models, like the organizational cultural analysis or smart analysis or resource-based models, right? So this is the basic content for today's lecture. So the first of all, we need to look at vision. I mean, I'm sure you have come across vision because you're a working professional. So what do you think a mission or company vision is? What does it say? What does it mean to you? Any idea what does the mission means? Vision? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay, good. I don't have any other candidate joining us today at the moment, but maybe they'll come later. I'm not sure. However, we'll continue. So, what do you think a vision statement entails? Any ideas? Hello?
Yes, sir. We are here.
Yes. Okay. What I asked a question. What do you think a vision statement does? What is a vision statement? Any idea?
Yeah, vision statements are actually what, like it's if you write strategy into words, I think that is something that determines vision, and it tells you in which direction you are headed. So it's the basic grounds
Hmm.
statement that you develop in order to define your goals and identify the direction in which you want yourself and your organization to point towards.
Yes. Okay. Yes. So, yeah, a vision statement is as a long-term vision of your company, where the company wants to head in 5 years to 10 years or 15 years time. It's a long term, it's a long term perception, it's a long term picture of your organization. Where do you want to see the company, and what do you want to see in the company, yeah, in an organization? So that's a long term plan, a long term dream, in other words, right? For example, if you look at the LinkedIn, yes, their vision is to create economic opportunity for every member of the global workforce. Um, and Google's vision is to provide access to the world's information in one click. Yeah, that's their strategy. So another vision, example of a vision is IKEA. Their vision is says our vision is to create a better um, everyday life for many people, right? So different organizations will have a different vision, and it's a longer term. It's a longer term dream. In other words, it's a longer term a term where they want to see the company, right? What's a mission statement? Any idea what's a mission statement? So there's two statements. One's a vision statement. This is you visualize, you make yourself where the company wants to be in X number of years time. And what's a mission statement? May I ask?
A mission statement can be the what company wants to achieve in
Yeah,
couple number
what
of
each
years.
company wants to see. And so what's a vision?
Vision is a goal.
Vision is a goal, right? Goal in the sense that is it a long-term goal.
Yes, it's yes, a long term goal.
Yeah, it's a long-term goal, right? So vision is something long-term. So what's a long-term? Maybe 5 years and 10 years. Where do you want to see the company heading, right? So the vision statement, that's a broad vision, and mission statement is how you're going to get there. It's a statement. It's a It's a short statement of why you know and how you want to get there, and what type of roadmap are you going to get. Yeah. So, for example, if a company wants to achieve X, if it wants to say grow internationally, how is it going to do this? So they may have some kind of a statement whereby they'll create some kind of uh, primary objectives, primary operations. They'll provide some kind of services. They'll kind of provide some short-term statements whereby they can fulfill that particular statement, mission statement. For example, we were talking about the LinkedIn. So their vision, for example, is to create economic opportunity for every member of the global community, working force community, but their vision statement is different to the mission statement, whereby they say to connect the world professionals to make um, the most productive and successful. So this is a statement regarding their mission statement, okay, to connect worldwide professionals, whereas their mission was something mission statement or different to the LinkedIn is to create economic opportunity for professionals. So you see the distinction between the mission and the vision statement. Okay, so vision is a broad statement, mission is a bit more succinct, bit more precise. Okay, moving on to the mission statement. So we're looking at the mission statement. It says it clarifies what the company wants to achieve over a longer term, whereas a vision statement, it describes where the company heading to and how it's going to do this. Okay, so it's a roadmap. In other words, it's a way to achieve the mission statement. Are you following me? Yeah. So there's a distinction between. So when you come and do your assignment, you need to distinguish, or you need to explain the distinction between. You need to distinguish between a vision statement and mission statement. Give examples of your organization, and explain how they achieve that. Okay. So the difference between that is very important. All right. Let's move on to the next thing is stakeholder. What do you think? What do you understand by a stakeholder? May I ask? Who is a stakeholder and what is a stakeholder? What do they do? Any examples of stakeholders?
So a stakeholder, well, in order to define a stakeholder is anyone who's related to something, some organization or business. If we talk about Apple, so all the people who are using the Apple phone, the people who are
Yeah.
producing it, the people who are working for it, even the shareholders of the Apple company, they all are the stakeholders for that.
Right. Okay. So they're all stakeholders. Yes. I'm just yes. Okay. So what do you think stakeholder? What do you mean by if they are connected or they have some kind of interest or they have some kind of connection? I'm just going to look at the side sheet here, which one I need to show you. Um, so here, stakeholder is basically a people or organization who have an interest in your organization. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So what type of yeah? Okay. So people who have an interest in your organization. Um, so, for example, here a stakeholder is a person or party or organization or whatever who have an interest in your organization and they can affect your organization in various ways. So there are people who have interest. For instance, people around our organization who are living in nearby your company, people who are outside the organization who are not even working there, people who are working inside the company, people who are employees of the company, people who are not employees of the company, maybe the government, maybe the local council, maybe the local organizations, other suppliers. So they're all interested in your company because they have some kind of a stake in your organization, right? What type of stake do they have? It depends on the nature of the stake. Okay, so yeah, so
Yes.
stakeholder. So stakeholders are people who have an interest in your organization. People like suppliers, people like government. And why do they have an interest? Um, because they are affected by your organization, right? Um, because they are either affected directly or indirectly. So if your organization is hoping to create a factory in one of the local areas, of course, there's a lot of impact on people living there, maybe in the form of noise, in the form of pollution, in the form of infrastructure, maybe in the form of, um, you know, development or other things, right? Employment and so on. So therefore, they can say, okay, we don't want with their consultation, they said we can object to your organization being made here because we're not interested. It is going to cause us a lot of issues. Okay, so if the consultation went right, they will, and if they are stakeholders, and if they are affecting your organization, so the organization will not making its project in there because they have rejected the proposal of being the company being here. Yeah, are you following? Yeah, so they can reject. If similarly, for example, if your local people don't want a school in your area, and the people stakeholders say, this school is going to be causing a lot of issues because people are dropping, or because people are coming, and it's going to be noise and the vehicle of the noise and the children, and we can't sleep. So therefore, that will not happen. Okay, so the local stakeholders will put a stop on the implementation of the school in your areas. Okay, so some of these stakeholders are internal and some of them are external. So we're talking about external suppliers, we're talking about external society, we're talking about the government, we're talking about the people affected. So these are all stakeholders affecting the people by the company. Internally, employees, for example, people working there, people are owners of the organization, people who are shareholders in the organization, they are affected. So therefore, they can say, we're not interested in this particular project, and they are affecting the organization. These stakeholders is very important. Okay, and the government is important because they get revenue. Okay, so if you look at this slide here, these are the four quadrants on this side here, and it's easy way to remember stakeholder is by the UPIC, which is here, high four quadrants, which is adopted from Menlo, who's done the stakeholders analysis of stakeholders matrix, and basically it puts people into different categories of four stakeholders. Okay, people who are satisfied in the first one. If I can go my presentation here. Okay, so the first box here, keep people who are satisfied, people who have a lot of interest, people who have very satisfied, but we have low interest. So they are a different category. People who are very high interest and low power will be a different category. People who have low power and low interest will be different, and people who have high power and low interest they'll be different, and so on. Okay, so we'll need to look at how we can develop our analysis. Okay, stakeholder analysis depending on this Menlo principles, using the Menlo matrix, which is okay. So we'll explain. Okay, Menlo's matrix basically suggests that we analyze, we look at the stakeholders according to their power and their interest. Okay, so if they are very interested, of course, we'll put them into the fourth quadrant, because they have high interest and they have high power, right? So we put them into the last, keep informed, they want to be informed, and they are very interested, they have a very high power. And some people are very low power and they are not interested. So, okay, so we need to we see how our analysis, how our stakeholders are divided. Okay, and so therefore it's quite important that we put them into a quadrant and see how they are affecting our organizations. Okay, this is one of the tools you can put your stakeholders, internal and external, to see what power they have, and you can analyze them. All right, into Menlo's matrix. So this is what it is. You can look at this. Okay. Second analysis, or second
Can you
tool.
repeat Menlo's analysis?
Menlo's analysis basically it's a quadrant. It's a quadrant whereby you are putting people, where you whereby you're putting stakeholders in 4 categories, like this one here. So you got 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? People who are in the first quadrant, which is the very high and low, right? So if you look at the very high power but low interest, right? Yeah. If you are saying, hey,
Yes.
keep satisfied, the people who have a very high power, i.e. maybe because they have a high power because of they've got a lot of shares in they have got a lot of investment in the company, but they're not bothered, they're not cared about, as long as they get some dividend, they are satisfied, they don't interfere, they don't really bother about you, they don't really care what goes on in the general meeting. As long as they get their return, they are fine. Okay, but they have a high power. They pull out their shares. The company is affected. Okay,
Okay.
so you can put them into high here. Into this keep satisfying. You're satisfying as long as they are as long as they're getting their shares worth. That's fine. Yeah. Then there are other
Okay.
people who are with very low power, but they are very interested. Yeah, here like
Yes.
ordinary shareholders, or for example, people who are attending the meetings, but they have a smaller number of shares, right? So you can put them
Okay.
into extreme here. They have very high, they have a very high interest, but they are very low. In other words, very low power. So many people they attend, but they cannot influence. Do you understand? They
Yes.
attend the general meeting, but they can't influence. Whereas people who don't attend the general meeting, but they can influence because of they've got a lot of interest investment in the
Hmm.
company. So you
Okay.
see the both extremes. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
this Mandelaw, this Mandelaw's quadrant. It tells you where your power lies, where your analysis lies. So you can
Okay.
split your stakeholders into these quadrants. Okay.
Hmm. Okay.
That's what the quadrant explains you about. So there's two
Okay.
extremes. One with very high power, but low interest. Then you have a low interest and low power. Then you have a
Hmm.
high power and low interest, and so on. Okay,
Okay. Thank you.
right. Okay, no problems. Any other question? No other
No, sir.
question?
No.
Okay,
No.
so let's move on. The other thing we need to look at is situation and analysis. Situation analysis, it depends what happens if something else happens. What happens to our organization? What happens to our employees? What happens to our profits? What happens to our investment policies? What happens to our implementation plan if something external happens, if something internal happens, if something forecast doesn't go according to the plan, right? So therefore, we might need to make a plan B. In other words, what happens if something else happens? What happens if our demand forecast is not according to the projection? Okay, so you need to be able to look at the situation and analysis and make decision according to those plans, right? SWOT analysis and other analysis, right? So this is what basically what happens if our project doesn't give us a return that we planned for or that we anticipated, right? So this is basically situation analysis tells you what if, okay, something goes wrong. What can the company do? How can the company improve? How can the company take action? How can they create opportunities? How can they identify other avenues? All right, strategic options, and this is what the what if analysis, right? Okay. Components of situation analysis are there are 4 components of a situation analysis. Number 1 is the company itself. Number 2 is the products and services. And number 3 is the distribution. And number 4 is the opportunities, right? So therefore, you need to look at the situation analysis according to these 4 aspects. So the company itself, depends on the vision and the mission and the strategy and the goals, and okay, and to what extent are they performing? Uh, are they following their goals and objectives and mission, and are they looking at their broader aims and objectives? How are they doing? Are they uh, if you look at the situation, how are they doing their market research? What's the this kind of thing here? Okay, products and services. What are they producing? Have they done any research, a market analysis? Did they conduct any feedback? Did they get any you know data on situation analysis? Or if yeah, so third one is the distribution, i.e. distribution channels. Are they, what type of distribution channels they are going for? Are they going for, you know, competitor according to the competitors? What type of distribution channels they shouldn't go for, right? Is it competitive, or are they not competitive? Are they using similar distribution channels as to your competitors, right? So you need to look at the competitors' analysis and distribution channels and what opportunities. The fourth thing is we need to look at the uh, opportunities created by the SWOT analysis and how we can turn our weaknesses into our opportunities, okay, or threats. We can avoid threats and create them into opportunities and strengths later on, okay. So this situation analysis we can make, and then we can move forward, okay. The third tool we can use is the 5C model, which is a 5C model, which is tells you the customers, the competitors, the company's segments, collaborations, and climate. So the first, the company segments, i.e., what type of segments, what type of market, what type of distribution, products, who for, what type of customers, what type of customer type are they going for? Are they going for market segmentation into different as a whole, or are they going to target particular customers or the particular market or particular area or particular income section or particular segments like geographical segments or what, right? So this is the company needs to look at. The second one is the customers. What type of customers are they going for? Are they going for upper class customers, or they're going middle class customers, or they're going for lower class customers, or they're going to go for families, single unmarried or married couple. What type of customers are you aiming for? The segment. So the distribution will be according to the target market, the customers. Okay. Then the third C, situation analysis, is the competitors section, i.e., it reveals how you are going to improve your competitors' behavior, how you're going to compete against your competitors' behavior, depending on your analysis, SWOT analysis. The fourth element in situation analysis, again, it looks at the climate, factors like external environment, internal environment, um, economic situation, exchange rate and government policies, and so the state of the economy. And the last one is the collaborators. Are you collaborating with other people? Are you collaborating with other suppliers? Or you come into different types of collaborations, like the airlines do code sharing, for example. To what extent are you going to use your products and distribution channels to the best of the companies? Okay, so looking at the total, we must make sure that we perform our situation analysis at a periodically, so that it's reviewed and it's evaluated, so that the company doesn't fall behind its competitors. Okay. Okay. And then lastly is we need to look at the category of risk. So there are some preventable risks, there is some strategic risk, and there is some external risk. Now, the difference between a strategic risk, what is a strategic risk is if you move your plans, how risky are they? How what type of processes, what type of risks, what type of dangers, what type of costs are involved into the strategic risk and external risks, because the strategic risk is a long-term risk, i.e., what type of problems you're going to get if you change your strategy, if you change your behavior, and if you change your longer-term vision and mission. Strategic risk: are you going to shift your resources, and are they costly, and how are you going to be effective? Preventable risks are things that you can prevent, things that you can avoid without being affected by you know other things, okay, like the operational risks, standard type of risks, okay. So by management policies, by management approach, these risks can be reversed. Yeah. So these are some risks that you can avoid. Example of risk management is, for example, there are companies who use their risk planning, for example, using a scorecard, and they can reduce some type of risks. Okay, looking at the strategic risk, they can avoid using balanced scorecard and putting the eggs in different baskets so that they can reduce their risks rather than increase them. Okay. So what we looked at what we looked at now today is if we go back here, we set out to do our vision and mission. We looked at situation analysis. We looked at stakeholders and internal and external stakeholders and how they can affect an organization. And we looked at this Mandlow's quadrant, Mandlow's matrix, and we looked at situational analysis and how these people can affect our stakeholders' position by Mandlow's effect. Okay, by Mandlow's analysis. We looked at the situational analysis, i.e., what happens if something else happens, i.e., what kind of plan we can create, and we said there are 5 situations we can use this kind of situational analysis. One's the customer, the competitive, the climate, the collaboration, and we can prevent our risks in using the scorecard, balanced scorecard, one method. We can use other methods of reducing risks as well. Okay. Are we okay on this? Are we?
Yes.
Is there any question, Lareed? Is that Lareed?
Yes, sir, it's Larit.
Okay.
Sir, I want
And
to ask about
what?
I want to ask about the assignment that we are supposed to include all the things we have learned today while
Well, you
working
don't
on
have to
certain.
include everything. You don't have to include everything, but you must include vision, mission. You need to be able to explain some kind of stakeholders. You need to explain type of stakeholders, the external and internal, and how they affect the organization, how they, how you can be affected by their behavior, what type of, examples of them, and you can also try and give us some kind of examples how risk can be avoided or how risk can be prevented or it can be minimized. Yeah. But the most important thing is to look at the assessment criteria. I think we earlier on, Mr. Lagadi, is he there?
Yeah, I'm here, sir. I'm clear on that. Yeah.
Okay, we were talking about the assignment. Before we end the session, because you joined late, Larev, we can go through, but you must look at the assessment criteria and answer according to the assessment criteria. Okay, right. So The 3.1 assessment criteria is this one here. 3.1 will tell you, where is it gone? Let me see. 3.1 is talks about mission and vision, right? Mission and vision. I think, yeah, we were able to look at the mission. I'm just going to give 3.1 like quickly. Tells you what the criteria is. 3.1, create a relevant mission. So when you're talking about your organization, you need to create, you need to show, you need to give example, you need to write mission, vision, strategic goal. Maybe you need to give us a kind of a structure. Maybe you give us a kind of organization structure, okay? And state your mission and vision, okay? Any organization, maybe Shell, maybe IKEA, maybe pick up an organization in Pakistan and give us some kind of a vision, mission, and so on. Okay? Are we okay on this? Hello?
Yes, yes, sir.
What about Lareb? Is she hearing, or is she not there, or what's happened to?
Yes, sir. Yes.
You're okay. Fine. Okay.
Yes,
Please
yes.
answer as because when you don't answer, then I get the impression that either you don't hear anything, or you're not
No, no,
understanding, or there is an issue with the volume, or I'm not getting my transmission across, or whatever. Okay.
no, it's no, sir. It's just take few couple of seconds to mute and then unmute myself.
Okay. Okay. The next thing we need to look at 3.2 is we need to look at the propose an organizational kind of a structure, or organizational plan, organizational map. Okay. So I'm sure you need to put that across. One, you can have a your own organization and put the plan and explain about the structure of the organization. Another one is the strategic plan, for example, what's the organization's strategic plan? Okay, so yeah, okay, so we need to look at that here. There are one or two other things that we can look at. Number one is we can have a resource based strategic plan whereby we look at the internal and external resources, right? Tangible and intangible resources. This is the RBV model, resources-based model. If you're looking at your structural plan, if you're looking at your organizational structure, and one way we look at the resource-based structure, which is tangible assets like buildings, like physical resources, um, like stock, for example, like transport, for example, like assets, machinery, and so on, and how intensive or how unintensive the organization is according to tangible. If it's a lot of money invested, why is it worth it? Then you need to look at the return on investments and so on. And intangible assets like trademarks and um, trademarks and brand reputation and goodwill and for example something that brand loyalty people have built up over the years and is yeah, so that can be, you can look at that model, and to what extent are they heterogeneous or homogeneous or homogeneous or heterogeneous, right? Different to your competitors. Are they the same or different? And to what extent are they different to your competitors? Okay. So the first assumption is that the skills, capabilities, every organization is different to other organization in terms of people, in terms of assets, in terms of output, in terms of buildings and tangible assets and so on and so forth. Okay, so they're completely different. So you need to look at the this kind of how heterogeneous are these organizations. So, for example, you cannot compare one organization like ESSO with a cotton manufacturer organization, right? Because they're both different. If you want to look at the organizations which are heterogeneous, you need to look at the similar sector. So if you both should be in similar sector, so you can compare them. You follow? Yeah. Okay. Then you need to look at the RBV model in terms of how immobile are there, how replicable their resources are, how quickly can they turn their intellectual property into immobile resources and so forth. Okay, you can use VRIO model, which is based on value, rarity, immutability, and organization, i.e., value means resources are valuables, and if your organization, how products are valuable, how are they rare, how are they immutable, can other organizations imitate your products, and so on. Okay, so you can look at this variety model in terms of products, in terms of their value, in terms of their immutability, and in terms of the organization's resources, in terms of capability, in terms of their behavior, in terms of their situation, and how far are they competitive. Okay, so you can use this. Okay, I'm not going to remove this resource-based strategy, right? So this is very quickly 3.2, and the last 3.3 section is your create a resource strategy implementation plan. So once you've done your analysis, you can create your implementation plan depending on the resources that you have, and getting some feedback from the people, getting feedback from the organization, getting feedback from your customers and stakeholders, and that you can implement that plan. You can review that plan, and you can evaluate that plan. So because the strategy is always on planning, implementation, and creating analysis. So this planning, once you can create a plan in terms of flowchart, you can you know, create a market development plan and implement this plan and review this plan. And then if it doesn't work, then you have to start again, and there must be analysis. So you start from the beginning. Okay, so so that you can develop it better. Okay. Okay, so what we've done briefly, what we've done today's lecture is we looked at 3 assessment criteria. Okay, so the first one was looking at mission and vision. This is the one we looked at. Okay, creating a relevant vision, mission, objectives, and so on. Second one is we looked at the proposed suitable structure. Strategic plan, i.e. creating a strategic plan. So you can create a plan for your organization using different organization charts, using different templates, using a strategic plan of the organization. And thirdly, we looked at VRIO model, creating resource-based implementation plan. Okay, if you need to read more, you can go on to look at the resources, you can look at the references, and please look at them. So read them. One of the resource is here, firms, resource and situation of competitive advantage. One is also this strategic management concepts and cases. Then you have these type of analysis. You can use this type of analysis, which is 5C analysis template. You can use that. This is all available on Moodle. You can use this when you prepare your case. You can download this stakeholders model. You can, the one we talked about, Manklo. This one here. You can look up at the stakeholders engagement, how they are engaging with the organization. And this is the 50 pages read or whatever, and you can see how they affect the organizations and what the influence is. Yeah, okay. You can also, this one, reading material, which is your depending on the situation and analysis. There is some research material. This is one research article you can read. Okay, and the last one is here, Boston's and other materials, which will give you some kind of more reading materials. And this particular grid will help you to develop some kind of understanding. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that okay? Quick turnover. And then lastly
No,
is
it's
the
okay.
sample.
Yeah, it's allowed. Yeah.
Lastly, we looked at the sample assignment. So this is what you need to do on your market product development and sample assignment, making sure that you answer the question, making sure that you answer the criteria. If you don't answer the criteria, if you don't answer the assessment criteria, then you will not get through the assessment. Okay, so making the reference to the assessment criteria is very important. Okay, because you're tackling the. So this is maybe a 3,000 word assignment, but excluding your bibliography and excluding your charts and whatever. Yeah, this assignment doesn't have charts, but it should have a lot of one or two charts here. Okay, but it should have more because it's a big assignment, right? So when we come to discuss the assignment, then you can see it again. But the purpose of the showing you the assignment is you must assess, answer the assessment criteria according to the layout of the learning outcome. Yeah. Okay. Right. Are we there? Still there? Okay. Any
We
other
are here.
question? Any other question that you want to pose, Lareb or Ismail?
So nothing from my side. Narhab.
I need
Go
to
on.
ask that we can choose any organization.
Choose any organization that you are familiar. If you know the organization, that you pick up the organization yourself. If you know any case studies, you can pick up the case study. You can analyze the case study according to the assessment criteria. That's perfectly fine because these case studies are based on real organizations. Yeah? So there is no compulsion as to what you must do or you don't. As long as you satisfy the criteria, that's the basis of your assessment. That's how it will be. Okay. If you
Okay.
have, if you know any case studies, pick up a case study from Harvard Business Review or from other business schools, or download from Times 100 case studies. You can go on to Google and research on case studies. Pick up one or two case studies. Make sure that it's long enough because they are quite long case studies, and you give yourself enough time to read them, digest them, make sense of those, and provided you understand the criteria, you relate the case to the assessment criteria, because not every case will relate to the assessment criteria. All right, so you might have to look at different cases, but for the purpose of the assignment, it's one case study, and you look at that and analyze, okay, and implement.
Okay.
You can pick up
Thank
from airline, you can pick up from petrochemical, you can pick up from computers, you can computers industry, agricultural industry, petrochemicals. You can pick up any educational industry, any case study. Yeah, maybe Shell has a lot of case studies in Pakistan. Maybe what's it called, LMS, or management school. I think they've got lots of case studies. Lahore School of Management. Get it off one of those universities. Get it from the college. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So, is there any other question? Did you follow the lecture today, or you didn't follow, or any reservations, or any problems, or issues, or concerns, or anything that I didn't make myself clear, because most of the time I think strategy is practical. You can talk, but I think unless and until you do a case, you will not understand the logic of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
However, theory is very important to understand the practical.
Yeah.
Okay. So, anything else?
No, sir. Thank you.
So, thank you,
No, sir.
Ladev, and thank you, Ismail. And
Thank you, sir.
before we close, I think, do we have a session tomorrow?
Yeah, we do actually.
Okay. So, please try and I know you're coming regularly. That's very good. Please pass on the message to other participants, so make sure they are here as well, and
Sure, sir.
so they can also learn something new. And we need to learn off you as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Thank
can
you very
I
much, sir.
thank you very much and have a good evening. And I'm going to stop recording from now. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Goodbye.
Yeah. Thank
Okay.
you, sir.
Love you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank
Take care.
you. Bye bye. Bye bye. Take care.